Welcome to the infamous podcast. This is Darryl.
And this is Brian.
Yeah, we're gonna have to work on that when we go back and forth. That's I mean, we've been doing this for a year and a half, and it's almost like ingrained.
Well,
I almost said,
yeah, Brian. I mean, I've been doing it for 6 years, so
yeah, yeah. I almost said this is Brian, and the last funny, second actually. I said my name. So welcome.
You failed, Darryl. You failed this podcast.
So welcome to, speaking of podcast, welcome to episode 323, Breaking the Cycle. And for those Stain fans out there, we are not talking about the third album of their third studio album with such. Hey, I'm a Stain fan. Aaron Lewis is pretty bass, so.
Right? Yeah. I thought you were talking about the CDC study that just came out.
No, like when it was funny when I sent you that, the idea of breaking the cycle, it popped right in my head. And for the last 20 minutes before we started, I may have been listening to some Stained songs. So, all
right. So
including,
sorry, go ahead.
I was about to say, including the Smallville favorite, So Far Away.
Ah, very good. All right. As you guys can hear, my voice is crap because I got bronchitis earlier this week. And so Darryl is going to do the lion's share of the talking this week instead of me. So, D, take it away.
So let's be honest. He was cosplaying as Marco Inaros and tried to do the gravelly voice, and it didn't work. So.
Hey, Beltolota. Sasuke.
So as we are going to, just start and kick off with the one news bite we have, and it's quite interesting. It is the CW is up for sale. And Brian, you got this from the Hollywood Reporter.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a love-hate relationship with the CW personally, more on the latter stages of the last few years, except for Soups and Lolo. I mean, the CW has been around since 2006 when it was it UPN and the WB network merged?
Yeah, so UPN was obviously owned by Paramount and like CBS Viacom, and then or I guess Viacom CBS now, and then Warner Media owned WB obviously, and they were just competing networks. Neither one of them were in as many households as they should be. Like for example, in Cincinnati, there was no UPN; it was in Dayton. So if you lived like north of the city, or if you lived really far south, you might get the Lexington version. But yeah, so they decided to come together, and then they were in this huge market. And the big, I guess, suitor is the word they use in the article, which I thought was interesting, is Nexstar, which owns about 200 local TV stations, as well as the News Nation cable channel and The Hill, what Crystal and Sagar used to be on. Anyway, but they're the largest owner of CW stations in the country. So the thought is that they might buy them, allowing Viacom, CBS, and Warner Media to even retain a minority stake. And so that way it'll still go on unmolested. I thought the other interesting thing was the station the merger happened in 2006, or the station was formed in 2006. It's never generated a profit.
That is crazy. Like, if you think about it, like, what's that, 15 years? And you haven't generated a profit. I mean,
yeah.
Again, some of that is due to, again, their programming is varied, but is targeted at the 18 to 34 audience. I mean, we know about the CW, or I should say the Arrowverse that, has been on the station for the last 8 years. But before that, one of my favorite shows of all time, Supernatural, was on there. And I'm drawing a blank, but there were a lot of other shows out there back then that crashed and burned after a couple of years as well. I just, the thought that you haven't turned a profit, you since 2006. Now, if you watch some of the shows over the last 5 years, I totally understand. And again, one of the things this show the CW has been, it's been more of a genre network. You have stuff like Charmed, you had stuff like Roswell, obviously, like I said, Supernatural, the Arrowverse. Now they do have currently they have shows like Dynasty and it was Into the Dark that are more along the regular drama lines with no superheroes or supernatural things involved. At least I think I've never watched either one, but you have other things like Riverdale that it seemed like it was going to be more of a teen drama, but then there's supernatural stuff. There's crossovers with Sabrina the Teen Witch. And a little bit more about this. It did say the CW previously had a long-standing output deal with Netflix that helped series like Riverdale and All American, which for the first 2.5 years, I really liked All American. And then it went the way of most CW shows that are on now, to reach broader audiences and grow on linear. That pact ended in 2019 as Warner Brothers TV and CBS Studios shifted library deals to their respective streamers, HBO Max and Paramount Plus. Now, one show I know had kind of like that dual type relationship on HBO Max and CW was Stargirl. I believe it actually started on HBO Max and then
it started on the DCU app. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's what it did. Yeah.
And so that was the thing, is they had that DCU app, but all of the good DC stuff was on Netflix. And they had it was 8 days after the finale, the shows would show up on Netflix. And they did huge numbers. I mean, they were always like in the top 10 for it. I don't know. I told you when I saw this, I think they should move Superman and Lois to the CW exclusively now. Like
100%.
Air it on the 11th. Air it next Wednesday, or Tuesday, and then say, hey, moving forward, we're still going to air on the CW, but we're going to air live same night on HBO Max for subscribers. The same with The Flash and Legends of Tomorrow and Batwoman.
Yeah, we talked about that last year because, again, the CW has, if you're talking about audience, butts and seats are in front of the screen, if you will, comparing the CW to something like HBO Max and then having a show with the quality of a Superman and Lois, you're absolutely gonna pull more numbers putting it on an HBO Max than you ever would a CW. Because, again, even if people do have CW, I mean, a lot of people nowadays, well, one, they don't have cable, and they do have the streaming services. And yes, we know that, Superman and Lois is coming on, January 11th, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But for people that don't watch TV, people that don't necessarily aren't on the internet keeping up with this stuff like us, just think about it. Turn it on HBO Max and having it at the top of the banner, Superman and Lois, 8 o'clock on January 11th or whatever. I don't know what day that is. I think maybe a Tuesday. But, Superman and Lois, 8 o'clock tonight, or something along those lines. And then that's going to be more people are going to say, hey, you know what? Let me check this out. Instead of having to, one, have cable. And yes, you can use the CW app as well. But I think, I think it was a few, during the tail end of season 1 of Superman and Lois, we talked about
it was this, because during the hiatuses, they would put it on there and it would come back and they would take it off as soon as it came back.
Yeah. And, kind of like going back a little bit to what was it, Mark Pedowitz, who ranks as the longest tenured broadcast CEO. He sent out a memo to his team. And one of the things he was talking about is, what does this mean for us right now? Because, again, like you said, the article talks about suitors. It means we must continue to do what we do best, make the CW as successful and vibrant as we have always done. We have a lot of work ahead of us with more original programming than ever. This season's they're expanding into Saturday night, which, I mean, I don't know how much that's going to help. They do talk about our growing digital and streaming platforms. And he mentions, and we thrive when we come together and build the CW together. So
yeah, I mean, they needed to be a 7-day a week, platform or channel for a couple years now. The other thing is they're only in prime time. They're only from 8 to 10. That's it. They don't have an 11 o'clock show.
So what is on the? I was. Do they just run? Just
Yeah, it's
throw
just
in
reruns.
reruns
They've
throughout the?
licensed like Judge Judy and whatever and all of
Okay.
that. So
So they did reach out. The Hollywood Reporter did reach out to both Warner Media and Viacom CBS, and who did not immediately respond. And a spokesperson for Nexstar also declined to comment.
yeah, so I mean, of course,
So
Nextstar's not going to comment. I mean, they want to get the best
right,
deal.
yeah,
They
oh,
they
absolutely.
want it to be as
Low.
Batwoman heavy as possible. They're like
Yeah.
Nextstar's just like just air Batwoman all the time. We'll be fine. We'll buy it.
And let's be honest, considering some of the stuff we have, considering the fact that I don't even want to talk about it, but I will mention the name Naomi is coming, and I've read some of the stuff Ava DuVernay has said about it.
Ugh.
That stock or that the value of that network is going to continue to go down, and that more than anything makes me hope that they move Soups and Lolo to HBO Max.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because I know with Stargirl, it was like unedited episodes, like, or I guess longer versions of the episodes. And then on the CW app, they were doing the longer versions of Superman and Lois. So just put it on Max and go. But anyway, all right. You wanna move into the
Yeah.
to the
Yes.
three shows we got to talk about?
Yeah, so we have a lot of series because last week was New Year's Day and we did our best of 2021. We missed a couple shows. We didn't get a chance to talk about it. So what we're doing now, we're doing the first two episodes of Book of Boba Fett, the episodes 4 and 5 of The Expanse, and the entire season 4 of Cobra Kai, which I can't wait to talk about that.
That's
Actually, I can't wait to talk
badass
about The
name
Expanse
for a
either.
badass dojo.
Yeah.
Oh my god, he was so bad.
So we're gonna start with the least impressive of the three, Book of Boba Fett. Now, what were your? I can't remember right off the bat, but when Boba Fett showed up in The Mandalorian, what were your initial thoughts?
How dare you?
That's what I thought. I thought, how dare you?
Because, yeah, I believe you said he was the most overrated character in Star Wars.
I hate Boba Fett. He's the dumbest character. He said 7 words and it was like, he's the baddest bitch on the block. Look at him. He's a man. He's something. I don't know what he is.
Okay, you sounded like Boba Fett from.
Yeah, I'm trying to do Breckenmeyer as Boba Fett. I'm Boba Fett. Pow pow, bang bang. Look at me. Anyway, but no, it was like
I won't
What? Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I will not disagree with your sentiment that he is extremely over in the Star Wars movies. In Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, he's extremely overrated.
I mean,
he does nothing.
All of the good Boba Fett content, excuse me, is from the expanded universe.
And
Comics,
that's what
books.
colored
That's
my
it. Yeah.
thoughts on this, because I read the like Tales from the Bounty Hunter and some of the other stuff he was in, and they showed him as a badass. It's kind of like Phasma in
in her
the
own book,
Disney trilogies.
in the Phasma
Yes.
book, where she's like, awesome.
Yeah, and then you see her in the Disney trilogy, and she is not awesome.
She is decidedly a Disney character.
So,
Yeah,
personally,
I don't know.
I did like him being. I thought it was cool. No, I thought it was cool. I didn't know where they were going to go with it. I did like what we saw in The Mandalorian. Wasn't really sure, despite that. The post credit of him, icing Bib Fortuna. By the way, this is going to be spoilers, so just so you know, icing Bib Fortuna at the end of The Mandalorian was great. I still wasn't sure how much I was going to like a Book of Boba Fett show, to be honest. And the first episode, the series premiere, Stranger in a Strange Land, we get right away. They answer the question of how did Boba Fett get out of that Sarlacc pit, and I honestly, that was the coolest part of this episode, of episode 1. And yes, we talk about this ad nauseum. You can't necessarily judge a series based on the first episode, because it's trying to do so much, introduce the characters, the world, the tone of the series, that more often than not, it's going to be mid to bad, and that's just throughout history of TV shows.
It's mid. It's as he would say, mid.
You need a soundbite for that, and then so you can hit the button.
I do need a soundbite for. I need 2 sound bites. I need the mid, and I'm better than you, and you know it.
That's one of my favorite tags for a wrestler. Better than you. So the first episode, Stranger in a Strange Land. Like I said, we get that how he escapes the Starlight Pit, how he loses his armor, and where he is now after taking over Jabba's. He's the man now. And there's just not much memorable. For me, there wasn't much memorable in this episode.
Well, he didn't take over from Jabba. Hold on. He took over from Bib Fortuna.
Yeah, because Bib Fortuna, the major domo of Jabba. And the first episode of this was, again, I expected it to be a little slow, but I mean, it was very boring for me. Like I said, the first 5 minutes were the best parts for me. Even the action in the second half of the episode the choreography was stilted. And I mean, look, before I talk about that, just to give you a quick highlight, like you said, he takes over, he kills Bib Fortuna. So he's taken over the mantle of, I don't even know what it's called for Jabba. He's the kingpin basically of Tatooine.
He's a warlord. We'll just say he's a warlord now.
Warlord.
How about that?
Yeah. So, that first episode is about, his, the other smaller warlords paying tribute to him and, him showing his face around Tatooine. Again, I just, let's be honest, for me, it was boring. It didn't offer much. I know it was setting up the world, but I really don't have a lot to say about it because it looked good. I mean,
here's the problem. It's too bright. There's nothing dirty about this underworld. There's nothing dirty about Tatooine, right? It's this clean, like high society place that they're going, and I don't know. It's just I just did not care for it. I didn't care for the pink Twi'leks. Like I thought they looked weird and creepy, kind of.
To be honest, I understand that technology is different now than it was when Star Wars first came out, or Star Trek, because I'm going to make this comparison. One of the issues I have with Star Trek Discovery is the time it takes place in the Star Trek universe and the way that everything looks. Yeah. The same thing with Star Wars, or when I say Star Wars, similar to the Disney trilogies. Yeah. They thought, hey, we have this technology, we should use it. Instead of saying, look, if we want to, keep that canon and continuity right, it has to look a certain way. Yes, we can make certain things look better, especially with choreography being what it is. But that tangible stuff, going into a cantina should have the same feel as going into a cantina as the original Star Wars, and it didn't. Nope. And that actually brought it down for me. So, I mean, since
when they brought him his helmet back and they handed it to him, it was full of coins. It's like, so he's gonna walk out with a helmet full of coins. Come on, come on, Favs. You're better.
Why don't we just get a car? Oh, why don't they getting credits or something like that?
I don't know. And I saw all these people. Well, I mean, that's what those were. Those were credits essentially. I saw all these people online like, oh, thank you, Robert Rodriguez. Thank you so much. Like the reason Robert Rodriguez's episode with Boba Fett last season, The Mandalorian, was so good is because it's 19 minutes long. There was no room for him to Robert Rodriguez up. Yeah. I mean, there's just far too much. This is a prestige TV show that is humanizing Tusken Raiders. I'm sorry. When I see a Tusken Raider, I want to see a lightsaber going through it. That was the only good thing about Attack of the Clones, is when Anakin was like, these things are monsters. They just killed my mom.
They were animals, so I treated them like
animals. And I said, goodbye, Tusken Raiders. Slice and dice.
So that's actually a great lead off to the Tusken Raider heavy second episode.
Well, hold on, we go to that. So wait, hold on. Out of the first episode, out of 5 ruling by respects, what do you give it?
I give it a 2.
A 2?
I actually was thinking about of a 1.5 to be honest, but I have to admit I did like that first 5 minutes of him escaping the Starlight Pit, and this probably shouldn't do, but I am going to do it. I gave it probably an extra half a point just because I expected episode 1 to be bad because it was a series premiere. What about you?
I gave it a 2 as well, and I was being generous.
Yeah.
Again, because pilots are always so bad, even though this is not technically a pilot. We got the backdoor pilot already, but that being said, it was like, I don't know. It was, I found it really, really, really boring. I have found these Disney Plus shows, save The Mandalorian, and that gets some grace because it was a completely new thing, right? These first episodes and WandaVision, these first episodes for these Disney Plus shows are bad. They're really bad. Really not well thought out or paced. They don't set up the series to like kick off on a high note. It's yeah.
And as we were talking about the Tusken Raiders, we get a whole heap of Tusken Raider in episode 2, the Tribes of Tatooine. That it's one that you appreciate. What's the saying? Like, hey, I appreciate the thought behind it. I just don't appreciate the execution.
Yeah.
And I will slightly disagree in this sense. I thought it was cool seeing some of the culture of the Sand People. I thought it was they used way too much time on it.
Yeah.
And this is a great point, what you said earlier about Boba Fett. Boba Fett is not a good guy.
No, we have the kinder, gentler teddy bear Disney version of Boba Fett.
Yeah. So I would say him being able to find common ground with the Sand People is kind of in line with his character of being not a good guy. And yes, they are trying to humanize the Sand People. But I thought certain things that they did, I thought it was a little bit interesting. They spent way too much time for me on the past, while in the present, in the now, where, after the assassination attempt by the Brothers of the Night Wind or something along those lines.
Yeah.
That the terribly choreographed fight scene at the end of episode 1, they did capture one of the would-be assassins. I do love what Phoenix says. She was like, "They're terribly overpriced. You're just paying for the name."
Right.
That actually kind of made me laugh.
I mean, Bing Na is always awesome. I mean,
I love her.
She's used the perfect amount in this. Like, any more would be too much. Any less would be not enough.
Yeah, and again, Bubba is doing his best to find a place instead of being a captive.
Yeah,
he works his way out to being part of the Sand People. That's what he did.
I don't like the Arrow-esque flashbacks, and I really did not like them in this episode. I'm hoping that we're done with it because we see how he got
his stick. What's it called?
His gaffy stick.
Gaffy stick, yeah.
Gaffy
and
stick.
I'm hoping that too. I'm really hoping that you're as well, that we got the past, we got everything we needed. So now is it 7 episodes? So these next 5 episodes is going to be about Bubba.
I thought it was 6 until today. So I mean, the fact that it's 7, like it picks up a little bit, but like enough of the Sand People. Enough. Yes. I mean, we got him in the Mandalorian, and enough. Yeah.
And very similar. I thought this episode was, the pacing was a little bit better. There were some cool scenes with him. Actually, not cool, but funny scenes of him trying to teach the Sand People how to ride speeder bikes.
See, like, things like that were fine. Like, that was actually fun because it was like interesting and different. And it's like, oh yeah, they would not know how to do that because they ride banthas everywhere they go. And, and walk in a single file line to hide their numbers. But, it was interesting seeing the live action Pike on the Spice Train. That was kind of cool. You know, I mean, neither one of these episodes are without their merit.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like you're talking about this like overhyped character. Like, go overboard with this show. Like, make it like completely outlandish that this tired old, you know, clone, because that's what he is, crawled out of the Sarlacc pit, got jacked by a bunch of Jawas, became best friends with the Tusken Raider super soldier, and you know now he's like the head of the underworld on Tatooine. Like, be completely over the top with it. Go full Scarface.
I think the biggest mistake they've made so far is giving him the line of "I'm going to rule with respect."
I'm going to rule with respect. Okay. Fine.
Again,
no.
It reminds. Unfortunately, it's all too close to how Loki was.
Yeah.
In the sense of he was not the Loki that we saw in the Avengers movies.
I will say this though: he is not being cucked and stuck in a corner of his own show.
He is not. No, they absolutely do a good job of making sure you know this is the titular character. This is Boba Fett. I just want to see more.
I will say, for all my complaining about the Tusken Raiders, the little like sand snake that was guiding him, or sand lizard that was guiding him to find a stick.
Oh, that went up his nose?
Yeah. Like going and finding the stick and bringing it back. That was actually kind of neat. I like when talking about the culture, like that was good. Them trying to learn how to ride speeder bikes was good. The just terrible tactical ability to attack the train. You know, again, it's the whole thing. This is the one thing that bothers me with Star Wars is everything they do is linear. There's no thought to the fact that like, hey, we're on these speeder bikes that can actually adjust how high or far off the ground they are.
Yes.
And they go fast. Why are we only attacking one side of the train? And if we're attacking the one side of the train, why don't we attack the part on the other side so they're not going to be shooting at our people?
Yeah. And again, maybe it would take the Sand People too long for that, but
I don't know.
Fett,
But
he's a bounty hunter.
I'm watching it, and all I can think is,
how dare you?
And like you said, this episode again was not without its merits because we meet Jabba the Hutt's cousins, the twins. I don't know if we did not catch their names. I don't know if they said them or not. But the baddest ass in this whole episode was, and I'm not fluent in Wookiee, so I'm gonna jack this up, but it's Black Krrsantan.
Yeah, something like that. He's from the Dr. Aphra comic.
Yeah, and that Wookiee, we all love Chewbacca, but he would work Chewbacca over something fierce, just by looking at him.
Oh yeah,
and I want to see more of this character, which is kind of funny because in a way, that's how it was with Boba Fett in Empire Strikes Back. You see this character in this cool armor, and it's like, I want to know more about this character. I mean, I just hope Black Krrsantan doesn't get the treatment as Bubba.
Yeah, right. No, he's definitely going into a Sarlacc. But
we get the Fets are, then this episode ends with the Fets basically saying, hey, our cousin was the warlord, so it's rightfully ours.
Right.
And then Bubba's like, yeah, that's not going to happen. So we get the antagonist right now where it's going to be, and again, there might be others, but it seems like the Fett twins are going to be, or not the Fett, but the Hutt twins are going to be the antagonist. They have a badass bodyguard. We have 5 episodes left.
Yeah.
They can still salvage this and make this a very, very good series.
I think
like
so.
The Mandalorian,
as long as it's the flashbacks are done. Like you can't do the whole series with flashback. All right, out of 5 homemade gaffy sticks. Yeah,
I will give this I'll bump this up to a 2.5 because I thought this was definitely built on what we saw in episode 1. It did some things better. I thought the pacing was a little bit better. It had the flashbacks were more interesting. I'm with you though. I really hope this is the last we see of the flashbacks because I want to get to the here and now.
Yeah.
So what about you?
I stuck with the 2 because as you know, I don't like just because I gave the last one a 2, it is not the same score.
It's not the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I just again I like the whole thing with the mayor and the Tradition and all or not. Yeah. It was just I don't know. There's things I liked and I still am finding this show boring. Yeah. And I admit I have a bias. I admit it. I do not like Boba Fett. I would have much rather had a Luke Skywalker series.
I think we all would have.
But we already got, 3 Luke Skywalker movies and, but yeah, I don't know. I just think sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying I like Boba. I like the idea of Boba Fett. Let's just put it that way. And even I can't give this show the thumbs up that I want it because I really want to like it. I'm going to absolutely keep watching. It didn't crater for me, but there's a long way to go. And there's plenty of time to get there as long as they are cognizant of, hey, we have 5 episodes to work with. We are not doing fillers. You can't do fillers with the 7-episode season.
Yeah, and I don't think they've done filler necessarily.
No.
I just don't think they've
other
done
shows
narrative.
on the Disney Plus have.
Well, yes. Yeah. So yes. All right. So yeah, it's here's the thing. It's not bad, right?
No,
it's not bad. It's not up to the level of who this character is supposed to be, and it's also not up to the level of the universe building that they need to be doing at this moment to get people to forget about the sequel trilogy.
What sequel trilogy?
Oops, excuse me. Exactly. I was trying not to cough and I burped. Anyway,
that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't
transition.
Yeah, it's really strange.
Speaking of transitions, let's get something we both agree is been very good. Another short season, but The Expanse. So we had 2 episodes to go through. Episode 4, Readout, and episode 5, Why We Fight. So to start off, I sent Brian a message about why this episode title should be Breaking the Cycle, and it wasn't necessarily Boba Fett in mind, but it was more about The Expanse and then more of Cobra Kai, which we'll get to afterwards. But what I found I found that when I did a rewatch of both series today or the last couple of days of that idea of breaking the cycle. One of the things we get in episode 4 of The Expanse, and now this is after, I think it's episode 4. Let me see. That's the one thing I didn't do a good job of here is I was doing more themes than breakdowns of the episode. But before we start, let me actually give everybody a breakdown of episode 4 of The Expanse. Holden finds himself at odds with his crew when a controversial decision is uncovered. On Ceres, Avazarala struggles to contain an escalating humanitarian crisis, and Drummer's growing faction stages a daring raid with dire stakes, while on the Pella, Philip is demoted to repair skiff duty and makes an unexpected discovery. So that's kind of like the summary. We get all the moving parts of where everyone is in the episode. And
I mean, the best discovery is Philip finds out that the only thing he's good at is being a repair skiff guy. I guess he's good at killing innas.
Yeah, I was going to say he's good at that, and he's good at pouting too. So, but with this episode, this is off the heels of that just amazing battle we had with that 3-1 battle with Marco and his fleet, Pella and his other 2 ships against the Rocinante, which they lost, and Holden had the chance to pretty much cut off the head of the Free Navy, and he doesn't do it. And we know why he did it even before this episode 4. We knew why he didn't do it. You could see how not necessarily talking about the books, but I'm just talking about, what you're seeing on screen play out, where he's talking to Marco and then he sees Philip in the background. But he finally, talks to Naomi about it. Our girl Peaches finds out and tells Amos about it. Then this was like in the first, part half of the episode. And Holden is in a very precarious spot with his crew because when Amos confronts him about it, he's like, look, I usually follow your lead because you do the right thing. And we've heard this from Amos before. But, he asks him, he's like, what am I doing out here if not trying to win this war?
Right.
And Holden gets pissed at him, but Amos tells him, he's like, are you pissed because I'm asking or you don't have an answer? And that's right. And yes, right, not too long after that, we get Holden telling Naomi, hey, I did this because I couldn't be the guy to kill your son, because no matter what, you would always see me as that, paraphrasing a little bit. And that is true. We know Naomi, as much as she would try, she would see Holden as that. I don't know. I mean, that's a very human thing. But from a standpoint of being a soldier in a war that is taking place across the solar system, not sure if that was the greatest of decisions.
No, I mean, and especially considering what Marco has done and what the Pella means to the Free Navy, he really should have ended Marco and Phil. I mean, obviously he can't, because then the series as it's going is done and he can't continue from the story. So, the Pella's plot armor was really like, the plating was really thick there. But I think the thing to really, really, really think about is that Naomi, for everything that she's been through over the last 2 seasons, right? Now, James has inadvertently put anybody who dies now at the hands of the Pella on her conscience.
And she tells him that.
And right, but as your girl would say, I've got a lot of red in my ledger. And, Naomi has a lot of red because her claim to fame in the OPA was writing a line of code that would make the magnetic bottle on any ship falter and make the drive explode. And so she killed, her code killed a lot of people. She did not do it. When she realized what they were going to do with it, that's when she ran off. That's when she left Marco and Philip, right?
Right.
But this now, it's just like that all over again. It's because of something to do with her that now more people might die or are going to die.
Yeah. And that kind of goes back to, the dying part or killing part. And you mentioned this to me, how great the scenes between Holden and Peaches have been in both episodes.
I mean, even the episode before this too. So in episode, 3, 4, and 5 so far, like Clarissa and Holden, like one, those two actors have a great chemistry together, but two, just the way he's come around to Clarissa, it's just this is as close to like the end of the second 3 books, Holden, as we're gonna get, because they took away him solving the problem, him solving the thing of the ring gates with Monica.
Yeah.
Right? They took that away and they gave it to Naomi. Fine. I think that's not a big deal. But the Holden that we're talking about is not the angry Holden from before the meteors hit Earth. It is not the reluctant hero of the Cant version of Holden. This is a really mature Holden who is making very pragmatic decisions about what is so I'm gonna like kind of spoil something. So like Daniel Lapusso says you have to win the right way, right? And his only way of winning is Miyagi-Do. Holden is trying to win by being human.
Yes.
And he's the only human, because like the Belters are humans, the Martians are humans. There's, these are all humans. There's no aliens here. They're just different versions of the same vintage, right? And he's trying to remind everyone that we are human. We have to do this together. And so the way he has to handle Naomi, it's sad and it's heartbreaking. And in the next episode, it lined up a really stupid scene because they want you to think that Naomi's going to do something. And
yeah,
I put this squarely on the shoulders of Ty Frank because he wrote this. Him and Daniel wrote the second episode. Oh, I'm sorry, they wrote episode 5. But yeah, it's just I don't know. It's refreshing. I think Steve Strait plays the character so well that it's fun to see. But at the same time, it's like, man, this is the Holden we should have had for the last 7 episodes of this show, leading back to the previous season.
What you said, are him being human and seeing everybody the same. Like, this is not something new in the sense, because early in one of the first couple seasons, he says there shouldn't be a them or us. And so for people who are watching this show on Amazon Prime, I don't know if everybody knows, there are these shorts after each episode, or that are taking place, I think, a little bit after each episode. They're like 5 minutes long at most. And the one for episode 5, and you'll understand why I bring this up, it's called Remember the Can't. And it's just Holden. We get Holden just looking at that, that graphic of whoever, spray painted his face and Remember the Can't,
right,
from back in season 1. And he says goodbye to Monica as she's going somewhere. But then we do a flashback, speaking of, it's flashbacks, and we see, McDowell from the Canterbury, his commanding officer, having trouble on Ceres because he's human, obviously. He's an Eartha, and the Belters are not too, enthralled with him. And then he sees this guy, like, just laughing it up with the Belters, and it's Holden.
Yeah.
And he says this to Holden in front of the Belters: "You're pretty good with these people." And Holden just gives him this look, and he I forgot the exact line, but he's like, he basically says, "We're all the same. There's no different. We're all people."
He gets his Robert Downey Jr. from Tropic Thunder. What do you mean, these people?
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I thought about that when the guy said that.
What do you mean, these people?
But going back to the Holden, and this continues with this whole break the cycle, theme, where Holden and Peaches are talking, and she says, "Do you know when I decided I didn't want to kill you anymore?" And she tells him how when he and Naomi, when they were, they had no weapons and they were going on the bridge, and he said that we were all just reaching for violence. Can we try something else? And that kind of like, and Holden just kind of laughs at that, and he says, "We're still trying to kill our way to a better tomorrow."
Yep.
And he's trying to break that cycle of, and you hear it again, that the idea that when I think in episode 5, when Bobby and Amos are talking, and she says, we're not gonna. He asks, "Do you think we'll win?" And she says, "No, I don't think we'll lose either."
Right.
It's just going to be the same thing. Our ancestors 100 years from now are just going to be killing each other. And it's just this continual cycle of violence that we see everywhere. I mean, I know they're not, I don't know if they're necessarily trying to do this in a direct way, but anyone who knows even little bits of history of our world can kind of relate to how certain people, and when I say certain people, like whether it be tribes or, different countries, have this cycle of being unable to come to terms with one another without bloodshed. And Holden is, like you said, Brian, Holden is that one. He's trying to reach for something other than violence.
Yep. I mean, he's such a great character. He's just, sorry, I hit the wrong button. He's a great character. He's the sentimental Don Quixote quixotic character, right?
Right.
Or not sentimental. He's the quintessential Don Quixote quixotic
sentimental
character.
Quintessential.
Yeah. He is sentimental though. That's his superpower. But I think at the end of everything, right? With the show and with the books and that sort of thing. What we need to remember is he's a good man first and foremost, who, much like Mark Grayson in the Invincible comic, not so much the simp version of Mark Grayson in the cartoon, is he has an unwavering sense of right and wrong, and when he believes he's right, he will do whatever it takes to protect the people around him to make sure that they're safe. And I was just having a conversation about this earlier today. Most fiction now does not understand the hero's journey, the Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. And if you look at Holden, he doesn't follow the prototypical hero's journey, especially like, in the Joseph Campbell, school of heroic thought. But he's still very much a hero. There's no anti-hero to him. The choices he makes, especially when he has to take a life, it is done so reluctantly. And I find him to be, like, in the books, he's my favorite point of view character, 100%. And here, absolutely, yeah. Here, especially the last couple seasons, because they have focused more on Naomi, and like, again, as much as I love Kara G, there's far too much drummer in this show, and they've given Holden the back seat that he should not be in.
Yeah. And that reluctance to kill, as you say, was it season 2 where he blows up that ship because he doesn't know what they're there for when they're like at the asteroid, and because the whole thing about the proto-molecule and him not wanting it to get into anybody's hands, he actually is the one that actually fires the missile to blow up that ship.
Right.
And his reaction is a testament to how much he hated to do it, but at the same time, he felt like he had to do it. And that's the thing I like about Holden is, and again, I'm a sucker for the hero. Yes, I do like anti-heroes, but there's a reason why I love Captain America. There's a reason why I'm a fan of Superman, because they stand. There's not necessarily any that shades of gray. Yes, everybody has shades of gray, but I'm talking about from an overall perspective of right and wrong. And that can be a detriment to some of those heroes sometimes. Superman gets, sometimes he's naive. But it's the fact that what they do with Holden is he has that strong sense of right and wrong, but it has that type of strong sense also has a toll on him when he has to do something he needs to do, but he hurts people that he doesn't think necessarily should be hurt.
Right.
And I'm with you, and we've talked about this so many times on and off the air about the modern state of writing heroes, and I use heroes in a air quote sense because a lot of these characters aren't heroes, because the writers aren't talented enough, or they're too cynical to write a true hero. And that's one of the reasons why I love Holden, because he has that strength of character that he's going to do what he feels is right.
Yeah.
Even if it hurts him.
Okay. So with Why We Fight, out of 5 glitter bombs, what do you give it?
Why We Fight, or Read Out first?
Oh, sorry. Read Out. My bad.
So Read Out, after watching it, I give that, this
is out of 5 severed arms, which we did not even talk about. Joseph losing his arm.
That was gnarly.
That was horrific. That was crazy. Anyway, so out of the first one,
Read Out, I give it a 4 out of 5. Severed arms. I think this, it was a calm down from just that battle intensive episode 3, but still we're moving forward. We get. And again, I didn't even mention, what we get in that episode on Laconia. We meet Duarte, Admiral Duarte.
I was gonna talk about all that like in a sec. So I just want to get the score on that one, because the way we're going is the other thing that, just in that vein of Holden, and I'm going to segue into Duarte, is
Okay.
when he convinces Avazarala to share the information, like, and he's talking to her, like, this is a less feral Chrissy than we've ever seen before, right? She is her most dangerous right now, because she is cool and she is cunning, and she is doing things the right way, the Holden way. And this is the and you know, the character of Avazarala would never admit this, but the effect of spending all of this time, all these years with and around James Holden's orbit has changed her. And she is almost living the life by, I see a button, I press a button.
Yeah.
Except for like the buttons now that she's pressing are like the right ones, instead of the hanging the belter on the hooks to suffocate him.
And that is huge when you like bringing that up, because she says the Belters hate me for what they saw me as, and they were right, but that's not me anymore. Again, these characters are evolving, they're growing, they're for the most of these characters aren't stagnant. And again, you can't, if you want to break any type of cycle, you can't be stagnant, you can't be okay where you are. You have to, whether it be circumstances forcing you or your own inner monologue forcing you to change, there has to be some type of impetus to push you towards becoming a more well-rounded, a better person. And you know, Avazarala, she's been the hard ass for so many decades, and seeing her, like you said, in James Holden's orbit, looking at things, stepping back a little bit more, and look in the sense of, you know, these people are against us, they have to die. I'm going to hang this guy on the hook because I can. That's what she said. She was like, I did it because I could. And finding a better way is, I mean, that just shows how far. And again, she's much older than Holden, so her growing in that way is even more impressive to me because of where she comes from and how long she's been doing it the way she's been doing it in that way.
And again, I put that firmly on the shoulders of the influence of the Rossi crew. Yeah. Okay, so segueing from Christian and Holden to Duarte. So one, we meet Winston Duarte finally in Why We Fight. And it's because Kara has brought Zan has died, and Kara is grieving, and parents are grieving, and Duarte shows up. And you do not know this is Winston Duarte. There was no pomp. There was none of the pomp and circumstance from Strange Dogs to this character. Mm-hmm. And I think this is like the realest version of the character, is because we just got him in this, like, kind of already in the scene of him talking to Kara about, you know, he lost something. She's lost something. They both experienced loss. She was supposed to be going back to Earth, and everything has changed, right? And when he talks about, you've lost something special to you, your brother, and she asked, have you lost anyone? And he said, no, but I lost a place. And you forget at this point in the series how important Mars is to these Martians. And I use Martians just as like I would use Cincinnatian or, you know, Michigander.
Ohioan.
Yeah. It's your place of birth. Like he's still human for now. Spoilers. Anyway, but he tells her, I lost a place that meant something to me. And I didn't even bother to look up who the actor was, but I thought he was spot on perfect. And if they do the sequel books, like, they have to get this guy back.
Yeah. It was funny because of the way I was watching it. It was at night, and I didn't, because you were talking about how, you know, his name tag says his name on it. It says Duarte.
Yeah.
But I didn't see that.
I had to pause it and look because it was pretty well hidden.
But when he said, I lost a place, my ears perked up. I said, wait a minute, is that Duarte? And I just thought that scene was, like, there's a subtleness to that. Like you said, there could have been, you know, they could have introduced him, regardless of what happens in the books. They could have introduced him in a military perspective, but there was something about showing him in that moment of someone else's crisis, of losing someone they love, making him a human character, which again, for now,
yeah,
I think that is so important because this guy is not, even though this guy's not a Marco Inaris in the sense of being in love with himself.
Right.
Duarte is, again, he comes from Mars, and we know about the ideas of duty and honor are to the Martians. Duarte is there for a purpose greater than his own and than his own, his own place, Mars. And people can, you can argue that the same, there are similar aspects of that with Marco, but while Marco is charismatic, he's looking at the small picture, while Duarte is a big picture guy. Duarte is the macro, while Inaris is the micro.
Yeah, that is a perfect way of looking at it. I mean, I would almost say Duarte is the fanatic and Marco is the tourist. I mean, he's a tourist. He's pretending to be a leader, and he's not. And again, being book readers, we know what really does Marco in, but it might sound exactly like hubris, but
we see it now. Is where Rosenfeld, who I is like the perfect foil or the perfect right hand man for him, because when he says, hey, space these people, and then if they ask for mercy, space the captain. And she says, he's like, did you space the captain? After he begged for mercy for his crew, she was like, no. Yeah. And she's like, because it makes you look weak. And Marco is, in a way, he's a child because he throws tantrums. Mm-hmm. When things don't go his way, despite the charisma, despite the confidence that he exudes, there's a lot of insecurity within him. And people say, I've watched some reactions to shows to say, is Marco really about the belt? And I'm just talking about what we see on the show, because again, the books, you get different, you get the inner thoughts of these characters, which you can't really do on the show. Yeah. And so from a show perspective, I think he cares for his people, but I will say that he cares for his brand more than his people. Right.
The Marco brand.
At least in the show. Yeah.
He's walking around and he's like, I'm that bitch show. Congrats, Jade. Anyway, no, that makes perfect sense. All right, so out of 5 glitter bombs, what do you give? Why we
glitter bombs?
It's because Amos was covered in Belter stripper glitter.
I give this. I'll give this a 4 as well. It had a couple great scenes because we do see Drummer lose the last 2 people of her family, but not because they die, because they decide to move on from this fight. But we get that great scene between Bobby and Amos when they're talking about why you fight. Yep. The episode title, and she says, in the end, the only thing that matters is fighting for who's covering your flank. Yep. They're your people. They watch your back, you watch theirs, or you got nothing.
I don't feel. Sorry. Go ahead.
And the last thing for this, and again, kind of going back to that theme of breaking the cycle, Monica has been doing a great job with her reports. And the one report she has with this guy that has a cat, he calls lazy earther because it's fat and it's lazy and everything. Fat and spoiled. But he said, he says it's not the inners in the belt. It's the people who want more hate and the ones who just want to live. I'm so tired of the hate, just tired. I can't even wash my hands. There's no water. That kind of goes with that breaking the cycle of, hey, you got to stop seeing each other as belters and inners, because if you do, we're going to keep butting heads. We have to find common ground, and we do finally get that potential common ground between Drummer and Avazarala, who they make a pact of a belter and an inner working together to hunt down belters.
A belter and an inner walk into a bar. No, no, you're spot on. I think it's funny because considering like Ty Frank, right, and kind of the political leaning he has, and the fact that a lot of the the talk about like the belters and like the inners and who's helping who and why and who's the inner's pet and isn't. I think they did a really good job, and I give this a 4 as well. They did a really good job of like just balancing out that like tension that needed to be there, but then the reluctant partnership, which ended up coming from Avasarala and Drummer. But I think the other thing, and I almost give this a 4.5 because of the railguns.
I almost did too.
On Medina Station.
Ooh,
the like seeing that, like that was one of the coolest things from the book, right? The railgun. And in the book we got to read about them like building it. And this time we just get to see it done, and but it's the Laconian version of a railgun. I thought that was kind of interesting. And then the Rossi getting the proto molecule.
The lace
skin.
the what's it called? The lace panels or something. I forgot what they call it.
The latticed panels,
but the latticed,
yeah. So like the lattice with graphene. Anyway, but batteries with graphene lattice. Thanks, Ian. I just in James' just reluctance to accept the protomolecule tack on his home. I thought was really cool. So I'm excited to see. I mean, I thought as far as the penultimate episode goes, there was just a little bit of spinning the wheels, and I think this needs 2 more episodes in this season. I think it needed to go all the way. I think it needed to go all the way to 8. And that 6 is just not enough because they're go ahead.
Unless we're going to get a true 90-minute episode or something along those lines, I still think there's going to be things that they leave out that they didn't need to leave out if they would have just gave us another episode or something along those lines.
Yeah, all I know about next week's episode is it's called Babylon's Ashes, which is the name of the last book of that trilogy, and it's directed by Breck Eisner, who is the showrunner, and it comes out on the 14th.
Oh man, I'm still nervous, but I mean this season has delivered. It's assuaged a lot of my worries about losing Cass Anver.
Yeah.
Also having a shortened season, but I really hope they can stick the landing next week.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope they can stick that landing.
Yeah, I still think losing Cass is huge, just because Alex was such an important character. But they've done a good job, like playing his music and thinking about him and talking about him. So.
I love that scene. Yeah, playing the music. And again, just a reminder for folks that the 5 and next week there will be 6 shorts. I'm assuming there's going to be one for next week.
Yeah,
they're pretty cool. They're that. The rest pause moments you get sometimes, like the beats between scenes, maybe that's the best way to say it.
Yeah,
which they're more character studies than they are pushing the plot forward. But I thought, and again, for 25 minutes, and because that's all of them together, maybe 25 minutes,
right?
They're worth a watch. They're the one shot. They're all called One Ship, but they also have their own title. And I don't think you haven't gotten a chance to watch them.
I haven't watched any of them, so I need to do it on my tablet because I usually watch on the Apple TV. But yeah. All right, let's move on.
Yes, let's move on.
It's karate fighting time.
The Golden Lamb, Cobra Kai season 4.
All right, first off, the guy that was doing the tournament, the announcer.
The announcer.
Enough. No No more. He was bad enough in season 1. I did not think he would be worse in season 4. Although I do want to congratulate him on the weight loss because he looked great.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
He looked really good because he was kind of portly in the first, like, whatever. But he looked really good. He was just like Mark, what's his name, Ruffalo, just chewing up time on screen. It's like enough is enough, and God, does the Valley not have anything to do but watch karate fighting of little kids? They're sick. They're sick. That's what they are.
How dare you?
That's what, number 3? I think?
Number 3. It's a record, I think.
So again, this is one of those. So the way I did this is I didn't break down the episodes, but I broke down kind of the character arcs. And I kind of want to talk about for me, the most surprising character of season 4.
Do we want to do our rating just up front and just knock it out?
Oh, as far as our characters?
No, just like out of 10.
Yeah.
Out of 10 tornado kicks. Out of 10 tornado kicks to the face. Words are hard. What do you give it?
Yeah, I'll give it. I'll give it a 9. It was everything I wanted and more. For the most part, there were disappointment, 1 or 2 disappointments here or there, but even those were still fun. And there's still no show out there that does nostalgia and combines the nostalgia with the modern day things that are changing from that nostalgia, and it just marries it in such a great way. So a 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
What about you?
I did 8 out of 10, but only because there were a couple episodes that I felt were a little too long, and spoilers, bringing Stingray back was 100% unnecessary, even for how it ended. I just did not think bringing that character back was necessary. It was one of the few like missteps, and I get it. That guy, I like that actor. He was great in Richard Jewell, the Clint Eastwood movie.
Oh, that was Richard Jewell, wasn't
Atlanta
it?
bombing during the Olympics. But Stingray's story was over. Like, there was no reason to rehash that, and the fact that when he showed up and he was talking to the now Miyagi-Do kids, yet he still went with Cobra Kai, even though all of his friends were now Miyagi-Do. I just did not, I did not find that an interesting study in character.
And that was one of the things that I won't say it bothered me, but I thought that was a little disappointing. Yes, I love the character, and even the scenes he was in, I liked. But just because I liked it, I don't think it was necessary. And yes, they did use him in a very cool way at the end of the season. But again, they could have done that they could have gone that route somewhere or somehow without using him necessarily. Now, did you want to do our top 5 characters? So then, when we're talking about the arcs, or did you want to let's
tell
you
that.
about my surprise?
We'll do our top 5 characters.
Okay.
Can I go first?
Yeah. Let's go first.
Okay. For me, it's always the one true Karate Kid, Miguel Diaz, as my number 1. Tori Nichols was number 2 because I felt like she had an amazing arc this season, and as far as bad guys goes, she's the most sympathetic bad guy that's ever been. Hawk is number 3 because I loved the breaking down of Eli. Dimitri was number 4 because I felt like he kind of came into his own, and I think Gianni did a great job rolling that. And then Terry Silver is number 5, but it's just because I'm a Terry Silver stan. And when my hair is now when I'm at the gym and I pull my hair back, I'm like, oh no, I'm just putting my Terry Silver hair on.
Does that music play in the background?
Yes.
And you do that?
100%. And then I telegraph my wheel kick.
Okay. So a couple of we'll have the same on a couple, but it's pretty different. Number one for me is Johnny. I absolutely just, you would think that his shtick would be tiresome, but they still do it in such a way that it's never tiresome, and they do some, and they always show a little different parts of his character, and I like how they're showing him opening up. And we'll talk about it more. I really love the scene between him and Robbie that we get, at the end. Number two, that's funny enough, Tori, because I thought her arc was incredible.
Yeah.
And just seeing her from going from the world is against me to understanding that people can help. And with that, I give an honorable mention to Amanda.
Oh yeah,
I thought
I'm
she
gonna
was
agree
great.
with that. Yeah, Amanda Leposo is definitely like tied to Tori's story.
So number three, and this shocked me, and it'll probably shock you. Number three for me is Robbie. For the first three seasons.
If you would have said Sam, I would have been shocked at this point.
Oh, I'm not done with my list.
No, I know, but I'm saying no.
Yeah.
I think ranking Sam this high would have been. No, I think Robbie had a really, really interesting arc. But I liked, I just really liked I liked the change in Dimitri. He's still a little like weirdo, but like he's a confident
he's a little
weirdo
bit more
now.
Confident, yeah.
And I just like I enjoyed the character this season, especially when he was trying to help Eli.
Yeah. So with Robbie, I think not only do I think there's better writing. First of all, the actor, I forgot his name. He's done some lifting between seasons because he's pretty jacked.
Tanner Buchanan got jacked.
He is so freaking jacked. I was like, dude, all right, thumbs up. But I not only just from him from a physical standpoint, he just feels like more of a Cobra Kai guy. But I thought his acting has vastly improved over the seasons because you see that with certain actors, especially when they're young. As they go on, they just get better. And I thought he did such a great job. And I really can't wait to talk about, that scene I mentioned with Johnny, because it's actually the impetus that pushed me towards thinking of breaking the cycle. Number four is Eli. I really liked, the hill he had to climb, how he was, hawk soaring and he got his wings clipped and he had to find his way back. And number five.
Yeah, let's pull one out for the Mohawk.
Oh, man, dude, that was brutal. That was some prison stuff right there.
I thought they were going to tattoo him.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to tattoo like a cobra on his face or something.
Yeah, I thought that too, but I think they showed restraint.
Well, but the visual of him coming out with the tattoo with the Mohawk gone, but just the wisps looking like a bird still.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So number five is the newest character, is Kenny. And I really like Kenny because there was sort of a parallel between Kenny. Well, there's a couple parallels, like parallel between Kenny and Hawk, and Kenny and like Daniel in the way of, well, I will just look at it as Hawk in the sense of when Eli first came to the scene and was getting bullied. Everybody called him Lip and all this stuff. And Johnny told him, dude, you have to change the game or you have to change the narrative. And Robbie taking Kenny under his wing and Kenny becoming the last thing Robbie wanted him to. Again, I've never seen this kid before, the actor, but I really like this kid.
Yeah, his name's Dallas Dupree Young.
Yeah, I really liked him, and I really liked to see where and it's just that whole, he didn't break the cycle, he restarted the cycle, or he changed the cycle in the sense of he went from being bullied to when Anthony, who is, Daniel and Amanda's son, who was part of the bully crowd that bullied him, when he comes to apologize, he says, oh no, you're going to be the bullied one now. So I know we talk about, breaking the cycle. That's a cycle that, changed, it just went in a different direction. It was never broken. And that was a very, very important scene for Robbie and his development. So those are my top five.
That's a good list. I like that. Yeah, I liked Kenny. I thought Kenny was a welcome addition. I think the foil for Kenny with Anthony Lapusso, that kid was awful. I mean, one, I do not like that kid as an actor, right?
Yeah,
I
do not like. Yeah,
he's just not a Griffin Santa Perito or something like that. Just not the best actor. So fine, but they gave him like way too much to do as Anthony. And then Anthony's been a horrible character since we met him. And it just would have been nice to like have Anthony like grow like everybody else.
And that's the one thing they try to show him apologizing, but apologizing doesn't necessarily mean you've truly grown. You can say sorry and mean it, but they didn't show enough. Yeah, they didn't show enough of him getting to that point of, man, what I did was really messed up, and I've disappointed my parents. I disappointed, those around me. I'm hanging around with bad kids.
Right. Yeah.
We never got that. So Kenny's reaction to that is understandable.
The other thing too is Kenny in that moment is feeling super betrayed by Robbie because Robbie hurt him. Robbie hurt him bad. Like that was a really that was an interesting scene with that axe kick, right? Like it's like, oh my god, did he just kill? Did he just kill Kenny?
For a second, I thought that.
He killed Kenny, you bastard. That's all I could think.
Yeah, I just, and that's true. And he not only did he, so his emotions are high because he lost, but he lost to basically his mentor Robbie in a way that was, it wasn't just he lost, he got destroyed. So he has all of that, and again, a young kid, just coming into his power, and that's all he can think of is he sees his tormentor, and he says, okay, this is someone I can take out my anger, frustration, my rage against. Because again, you have a mother. We never saw her because she was always at work. His father is deployed somewhere. His brother is in juvie.
Which that was a great tie-in. I think
yes, it was. I thought it was great.
That was really good. I was sad there was no Allie this season.
Yeah, I guess that would have been. I would have rather had her than Stingray.
Yeah,
but again, I don't know if she was necessary.
No,
because her story and her relationship with Johnny was, I won't say over in the sense of it's over, but as far as it was resolved.
Sure.
Which again, talk about awkward comedy is some of the greatest stuff. And watching Miguel in the first or second episode when they're eating with his mom, talking about how Johnny was like, the love of his life and this, that, and the other. It was great. It's it was one of those things that I just love that type of awkward comedy, especially at the dinner table for whatever reason. So. But now, did you want to talk about a little bit more about the individual characters? Because to be honest, Miguel for me was a little bit of a disappointment. But when I say disappointment, in most other shows, the way he still would have been one of the best characters. I just think like the characters I mentioned, I just like their arcs better. That's not to say he didn't have his own strong arc.
I think the importance of his arc was really subtle, right? Mm-hmm. Because he is searching for a father figure. He really is. That's what, like, because he thought he had it in Johnny. And he sees the cracks in Johnny. And he understands he's much more grown up than Johnny's ever going to be. But he's loyal. He's loyal to Johnny and what Johnny has done for him. I mean, come on, he taught him how to walk again when he was told he was never going to do that. And then I think at least I hope he sees through Daniel's bullshit. And if not, like that kind of that worries me about the direction of the character. But I think he sees through Daniel, which is why he took off to look for his real dad at the end. But I think
Instead of
yeah. But one, the bait and switch of him getting hurt in the tournament was great. Like as far as like, oh my God, they just like Miguel is everything's undone. Like he's hurt again, and it was a muscle. But then actually doing the brave thing and not going back out there. And plus his heart wasn't even in it. So he knew. And I would say still he's almost done undefeated because nobody scored a point against him. But he had a DNF. Anyway. But I thought just the strength for him to follow his own path, right? Which led into the like what's an Uber, which Johnny said like 3 times during the season, which I thought was hilarious. And no one bothers to explain it to him. But I thought they did a good job of like telegraphing what was going to happen while at the same time leaving you like, wait, he's not going back out there. Because when Johnny walks away, it's like, all right, he's going to come out and it's going to be that moment and he's going to go on to win. But then the more I thought about it, I was like, he's not coming out and Hawk's going to win because he told Daniel he's just going to go win the whole fucking thing.
Which was great.
Which was, and we'll get to Eli, but I think Miguel had to deal with the mantle of champion as well as he possibly could, knowing that he'd been maimed, and knowing that while he can still fight and he can still go, that is not his main motivation this year. His main motivation is connection and finding out who he is, and for a show that's built on nostalgia, to have a character looking towards his own future, I thought was a great, like, it was the metaphor of when they were all in the water trying to grab the fish, and he was the first one to do it because he figured out how to swim with the fish and not go backwards. Yeah,
and that's what the one things I had it here, the uncertainty of what he means to Johnny, because there's no doubt Johnny loves him. But one of the things when they're fighting after the party that Robbie says to him, which really gets to him, whereas when he says that you're just a stand-in for me, basically. And
right.
And that's Miguel's uncertainty lies in that is like this guy who, yes, he did teach me to walk, and he I know he loves me. But is he compensating for messing up with his own son? And having a father figure is great, but at least let me know my own father. And which, by the way, the idea that his father doesn't even know he exists.
Right?
Like, how is that going to affect things between him and his mother?
And who's his dad going to be? It better be Vin Diesel.
Yeah. I'm not going to let you go because you're family.
You're family. Here's the keys to your Toyota Supra. Family. Here's your 10-second car in a Corona. Family.
Yeah. We drive it a quarter mile at a time.
For a quarter mile or for 10 seconds or less in that quarter mile, I feel alive, just like you do in that 3 minutes or less in the karate mat.
But your word, the phrasing you used, where you said it was subtle, I like that.
It was super subtle. There was
a subtle nature about Miguel the whole season, and he didn't exude that same type of charisma. And it wasn't because the actor was bad. It was because it was a distinct choice that they made. And that was one of the things I noticed early on. I was like, Miguel doesn't seem like, that Miguel Diaz that I knew for the first couple of seasons. But then as the season went on, you understood why, especially, when they had that talk, him and Johnny eating watermelon. And they were talking about their fathers. And how Johnny said he never went to look for his father because he was scared of And that also adds to your point of him being in a better place than Johnny will ever be, because he's still scared. He says it in that note that he leaves. But guess what he does? He still does it anyway.
He got in the
He still goes to look for the father.
He got in the Uber.
He's going to Mexico.
Yep. Mexico. Yeah, no, I really liked him. So I like Zolo. I like him as an actor. I really liked him on Parenthood as oh Jesus, my brain is gone because stupid medicine. Anyway, but no, I really liked him on Parenthood. I thought he was really good in that one, and I like him in this. I call him the one true Karate Kid as Victor. That's who he was. To me, he is the one true Karate Kid. I think the show is built around him in a way.
Yes.
As the future of the franchise, while we still have Johnny and Ralph Macchio, to quote Barney Stinson, as the connection to the past.
Yeah, and I just got to say that to your point when you were talking about Daniel, for someone who I don't know, I had a problem with him, and yes, he had some great scenes with, especially the playing off of Johnny. I think they had some great scenes together, but his just stubbornness and dismissiveness, that's more of a better word, because even after they have that that bonding at the ice rink, he's like, so now do you respect my karate? And he says, yes, as much as I respect a crazy man with a nuke.
Right.
Which is kind of funny, but he still can't, as far as at that point in time, despite him using that aggression, it takes him forever to finally admit that, hey, there's not necessarily just because this is my right way, mm-hmm. doesn't mean it's for everybody else. And that he does learn that lesson at the right. towards the end, and he finally breaks that idea of his way being the only way, or Miyagi-Do being the only way. Mm-hmm. And that was again one of those breaking that idea of, hey, I know what's best.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Maybe I can learn something from someone else, even if that someone else was my mortal enemy back in the day. And he, I love watching them come together.
Oh, at the end,
at the tournament.
And all I gotta say is shame on the All Valley Under 18 Karate Tournament for refusing to recognize Johnny Lawrence as a 2-time champion before Daniel Laposo.
How crazy was that they didn't even say that?
They didn't do it in the first season either.
No, they didn't.
They've never done it, and that has never sat right with me. And I get it. Like Cobra Kai was disgraced, but that was more because of John Kreese, not because of Johnny Lawrence.
Right. Oh, absolutely, it was about Kreese. And so, did you want to talk about your boy Terry Silver a little bit?
I mean, come on, it was so great to see him back and in full form, Thomas Ian Griffith was so good.
He was so
I love when Kreese first goes to him. Well, when Kreese calls him and he's playing the piano and he just hangs up. I'm like, oh, we're in for it. And then Kreese shows up and he's having this real fancy party with tofu skewers and mimosas, and the one dude is like, you have some kind of jawline. I've never seen such a perfect jawline like your jawline. Yeah. And I thought Kreese was gonna punch him.
Oh, you were you did karate? That's adorable.
Yeah. Oh, you had a karate phase.
Yeah. And the fact that how they, and this is again the whole nostalgia thing with mm-hmm. Bringing in Karate Kid 3 and then making a very valid excuse as to why Terry Silver was doing what he's doing. He's I was hopped up on coke.
Yeah. And not just that, but I did love the dichotomy of wild-haired Terry Silver and evil Terry Silver.
Ponytail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With just pulling it back and all right, now it's game on.
Yeah, and his was a slow burn in the sense of he kept saying in the beginning, dude, again, breaking that cycle. You're talking about this stuff, Kreese. This is the stuff that got us in trouble before, and you still want to do this. And then slowly, you saw him slowly kind of, I don't know if it was just being there, that ambition and that just that's within him.
Yeah.
And he said, he's talking, one of his lessons was like, everyone has a weakness. And, he discovered what his weakness is and he carved it out. But that was one of the things I have to say I did not expect, at the end of, Terry Silver wanting to take the Cobra Kai brand, regional or, or whatever, or maybe even national, or I'm not sure, without John Kreese.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And I do want to talk about, as I mentioned, the biggest surprise for me was Robbie. I made it no secret that I was not a fan of his character for the first 3 seasons at all. And he really sold me. Again, it was the writing, it was the acting, it was the physicality he had. It was the karate. So his anger, he's been fueled by anger and rage for so long.
Oh, he's 100% a Red Lantern.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And you see, and this is where they do such a good job, is it might be a facial expression here or something there where you see him starting to, even if it's for a quick second, question the teaching of Cobra Kai or questioning, something Kreese wants him to do, whatever it may be.
Right.
And that, for one thing, it's okay, it's dismissive, but they do it in such a good way where it kind of builds up and it leads to ultimately where it needed to lead. And he sees that where, we're talking about the Kenny thing and how Kenny becomes the bully after everything that happened to him. And Robbie, rightfully so, blames himself in the sense of, hey, I was this kid's mentor and look at where he goes. What does that say? And he actually loses the fight because for a split second, he hesitates when he sees I guess what you call the bloodthirstiness in Kenny's eyes when he's about to finish Eli. And it's that split second he hesitates. And then, Eli wins it, not because he had the upper hand and he doesn't take advantage of it just for that little hesitation. Mm-hmm. And that scene where he goes to talk to Johnny at the end.
Yeah.
And
that
he
was
says,
really good.
That was one of my favorite scenes in this season, where he's like, I had all of this hate inside of me for you and Miguel. And then Johnny was like, no, this stuff isn't your fault. Blame me. And when he says, I'm sick of blaming you, Dad. And you could just see the pain and just, because again, yes, these people have had fights everywhere you can name throughout the city, but these are still teenagers. And, he's still 16, maybe 17. I don't know exactly, but, and then that hug when they embraced that, man, that was like one of those goosebump moments. And I'm really, really interested to see where they take this character in season 5. I think they're actually filming now.
Yeah, I didn't see the filming schedule, but yeah, it's I'm interested to see where they take all of these characters.
Yeah,
who aren't named Sam
I was very surprised that his arc got to me as much as it did.
All right, let's we're at like an hour and a half. Let's talk about Eli real quick.
Yeah, we need to wrap,
and then we'll close out on Tori.
Okay.
So the death of Hawk and return and rise of Eli, I thought was super interesting because he was a man without a country up until he got his mohawk shaved off.
Right.
And then the island of misfit toys welcomed him back wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
But
because he was like, he lost his, like Samson, he lost his power when he lost his, or he thought he lost his power when he lost his mohawk.
Right.
And, trying, with the help of Dimitri, with the help of, oh crap, I forgot her name, with the help of his, misfit toys of Miyagi-Do. Piper, yeah. He comes back to himself. And that was his journey of finding who he was. He was Eli Moskowitz. Even though when he comes back, Daniel asks him, "Should I call you Eli or Hawk?" And he says, "It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter."
Right.
So we never get what he thinks of as himself from a name standpoint. But the most important thing is he finds himself, inside. He finds his confidence that had been just brutally taken away.
Scott Pilgrim gets the power of self-respect. No, I agree. I think he had just a really, 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 really interesting arc. I think he did a lot. I think just the character had to go through a lot, which was cool. In learning, again, another one, kind of like Robbie learned his humility. Hawk had to relearn humility and what it was. One of the interesting things is they've been watching Parks and Rec, and there's a scene where it's like the Pawnee Rangers and the Pawnee Goddesses or whatever, where the two, Cub Scout type clubs that Ron and Leslie have. And the Jacob Bertrand, who plays Eli, is one of the Pawnee Rangers. And there's a point where
you told me that.
Yeah, he wants to be one of the Pawnee Goddesses. And it's like, they have candy, and I want that candy. And he's mentioned candy at one point in the season. I was like, oh my God, I'll never not see you as the little Pawnee goddess, doing a little yell, all for candy and puppies. But no, he's just, I don't know. I think the fact that they did the swerve where Eli won, and the blood sport scene where they both took their shirts off or the top of their gis off, was really funny. But he still used the hawk, right? Like he had.
I was about to say, we got the hawk. Yeah.
So,
which I love.
I did too. But yeah, no, he had a great arc. I think Piper helped him, when he needed it to kind of start that journey back to being a badass.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So,
and speaking of badasses, we can end with
the badassest of badasses.
Yes.
Mary Mouser as Samantha. No. Oh God. Can I rant for 1 second? I know we're like way over. I do not understand the Sam LaRusso character. I do not like the Sam LaRusso character. I don't know if it's Mary Mouser. I don't know if it's the writing. It's just whatever it is, it doesn't work. And I think part of it is because she's an even bigger douche than Daniel.
Yeah.
Okay, rant over.
Okay. So I have thoughts on her too. I actually was surprised I didn't actually like her, but she moved up a couple notches. I thought she was much better this season, but based on how much I disliked her, she definitely didn't do the Robbie turnaround for me.
Yeah.
So, but Tori, again, I've always from the first time Peyton List got in the show as Tori, I liked the character. There was just, yes, there was a badassness about her, but there was also a vulnerability that badassery was there to hide.
Yeah.
And we
got
see
to
that
see under
more.
the hood.
Yes.
Of what was going on with Miss Tori.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. She is one of those based on her upbringing and the stuff she's experienced, and then she has the terrible aunt who just sounds like a terrible person. That any type of help someone gets is either out of pity or because they want something. And it takes some time, but for her, and this is one of the reasons why I gave an honorable mention to Amanda LaRussa, is because she does such a great job reaching out to Tori after getting her fired, or putting her in a position where she gets fired, I should say.
Yeah, she got her fired from the restaurant, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. So I really like them. And when Tori comes and you were talking about, Hawk learning humility and Robbie learning humility. Tori does too, because she actually comes, she's the actual one that, after she's rebuffed Amanda a couple of times, when she needs her help, she comes with her tail between her legs and says, I need your help. And yes, Amanda, she gives a dig here and there like, hey, yeah, come on in. Do you know the way still? But
right. Yeah. Do you want to smash the door in or just come in through the front? Yeah.
Yeah. But I really like the relationship they built. And to your point with Sam, yes, we understand Sam's a teenager and, teenagers are basically dumb, especially how they're written usually in shows. And Sam sees her tormentor. She doesn't see Tori as a person. She sees her as a tormentor. And while I understand that, and I understand that and I get that, Amanda is strong enough and mature enough to see that this is a girl that's in pain. And, one false step and she could completely spiral into where it would be very difficult to get her back. And Amanda reaching out to her and Tori Tori actually, being the one to say, hey, knowing she needs help, knowing this person has reached out to me before. And then you see how that changes her when she fights. And yes, she's still a terror, but when Amanda asks her to fight the right way or don't cheat or something like that, and then she elbows
she
Sam
says don't hurt Sam, just don't hurt her is what she says. And the elbow was completely inadvertent, like, she did not mean to do it. But then we got the Terry just telling her to do it again. And he goes, a man can't see, he can't fight. And I was like, oh my God, I love it. So I've like ever since the preview where, it was just a VO from Karate Kid 3.
Oh, that was so good.
Like, I've just been walking around. A man can't stand, he can't fight. So a man can't see.
So yeah,
he can't fight.
He can't fight. What was the other one?
A man can't breathe.
Okay, that's what I thought. So he hasn't said that.
Which is apropos for today's world in certain canonized individuals. Anyway. Yeah. So I agree. Like I think so. I stood up and I feel better, by the way. I feel like I sound better right now. No, I loved what Tori went through in the last 2 episodes too. Like getting to the finals, beating Johnny's champion was fun and interesting. And I love that girl. She was like low key.
She was awesome.
She was
Devin.
Devin. What is it? The Heat Check Player Award. The person who did the most with the fewest on screen minutes. Devin won. I
really liked her. Yeah.
I've only been doing this for 6 weeks. Just think what I'm going to do when I come back next year. I'm going to kick all their asses. But no, I like that Tori won. I think it was important for Tori to win, because I think if Sam wins, Tori goes down a rabbit hole that she doesn't necessarily need to go down. I think Tori winning is hopefully going to make Sam turn around and look at her life and the decisions she's made. Because Sam is not, she thinks she's the good guy, and she's not. Just like her dad thinks thought he was the good guy, and he's not.
Yeah, we're all the hero of our own stories. And I thought it was very interesting.
I don't know, man. Like fear and terror. I know that's a saying. Like we're all the hero of our own stories. But like,
no,
we're not.
No, what I'm saying is if you look in history, most people don't think they're the bad guys. Like, and I'm not saying everybody, but that I would say a good amount of people think as who was that said? What movie was that? For the greater good. Oh, was that? Was that? Yeah, that was Zod when he was like, everything I do.
Oh, yeah.
It's for the greater good.
I thought you were talking about Hot Fuzz, and when you say greater good, I was going to say the greater good.
Not quite. But yeah, overall, just this season, Like, did you have anything else like with Tori?
I just honestly, just the way she fought for what she needed and who she needed to be, I thought was great.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I just, but and again, her journey was the perfect mirror to just the excellence of this season, and so many characters having so many interesting and compelling arcs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. This show it's easy to look at the show as some type of nostalgia trip. Like, for somebody who hasn't watched it and just seen the trailers, kind of like what I did before I watched the first season. But there's care.
You're welcome.
And just thank you very much, sir. An excellence in the writing, in the sense of, not only going big when they need to, but showing restraint when they could so easily just pop the lid off and just keep going with the crazy. This creative team is just done such a fantastic job in 4 seasons. This is still, again, the show. I'm not saying it's as good as, but this is like one of the only 2 shows that I'm smiling almost all the way through the episode when I watch it. That other show obviously starts January 11th. So I just, man, I can't. I'm going to have to, within the next few weeks, I'm going to start from season 1, episode 1 of Cobra Kai, and then just work my way back through, because this show, I love it. Mm-hmm. It's one of my favorite shows, and like, just it's. I have as much fun as this show as I've had with any show ever. Well, like full stop.
Yeah, ever. I mean, being as the Karate Kid 1, 2, and 3 were like 3 of my favorite movies as a kid, right? And now we're getting this like really rich tapestry of a world of the Karate Kid. Like, it's like, this is so great. This is everything. And, having been a fan of How I Met Your Mother and the whole joke that the How I Met Your Mother crew did with, oh no, Barney thinks that the real Karate Kid is Billy Zabka, and because he didn't understand good guys and bad guys, right? But Daniel wasn't a good guy, and Billy wasn't a bad guy. That was the thing, right? Or Johnny wasn't a bad guy. Dutch, yeah, he was pretty bad, but no, it's you nailed it on the head. It walks that balance of nostalgia and future, and I think they did such a great job with Zolo, with Tanner, with Jacob, and with Peyton. And I'm gonna throw Mary Mauser in there, but like, she's like a step below all of them. As this young cast, that watching them grow, the interesting thing is going to be to see, because they're juniors this year, right? Or are they seniors?
Mm.
I thought they were juniors.
I think they're juniors.
Like, to watch, the timeline's kind of fuzzy because it's the 4th season. It's only the 2nd tournament. But to watch them grow and to move on and to like age out of the tournament and into life, and like watching them kind of go off on their own way will be really interesting.
Yeah, and I for one, like I said, I cannot wait. This show is, I mean, again, like, without you, I would not have watched this show. With you saying, dude, you got to watch this show. Dude, you got to watch this show. And you kept pestering me. I was like, fine, I'm going to watch it. I mean, I after the first episode, I was hooked. I was like, okay, this is so much fun.
I told, because when in 2018, when this came out, I signed up for YouTube Red like 3 weeks before. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I know I'm watching this whole show. So I'm just going to get YouTube Red, just kind of enjoy like what it is. When Cobra Kai is over, I'll cancel it. That never happened. But so I can't deal with commercials, man. You know that.
I know.
But yeah, I mean, this is all about like the pop culture reference from How I Met Your Mother, and the sweep the leg video from No More Kings. in 2007, where William Zabka plays Johnny and makes a cameo in the video. But yeah, I really, really enjoy it. I wonder if they're going to bring Hilary Swank in, because
they said that's on the table.
I kind of feel like I'm kind of surprised there's not the up in arms nature of where's Hilary Swank? She's a Karate Kid, like with the Ghostbusters Answer the Call or whatever it's called, the Fig Busters. It's like, well, you guys went out of your way to make sure you weren't canon.
Yeah,
you had Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray and Ernie Hudson in the movie, and they were not Winston Zeddemore, Peter Venkman, and Ray Stantz.
Yeah. And also, let's not forget Mike Barnes.
So, I mean, he said he has to call for help. And
he said, I know one or two guys, two people or something like that.
If they can get the guy that played Snake back, I'll be so happy just because it'll be hilarious. And I hope he's still kind of chubby. Not going to lie. But no, I mean, Mike Barnes has been on like Cobra Kai theory with Star Wars theory. That's a lot of theory.
Yeah.
A few times, I think, with interviews and stuff.
Yeah.
So, Mike Barnes is a fantastic mustache twirling teenage villain.
Oh, absolutely.
You could take Mike Barnes out of Karate Kid, change the activity, and literally drop him into any movie, and he's going to be terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm again looking forward to what they bring in season 5. It's just another fantastically fun season, and I'm just so glad that next week we get Soups and Lolo. Yeah, because I was going to say after this, and yes, we also get the Expanse finale. Oh man, next week's going to be very, very, very captivating from a TV show standpoint with those two shows alone, to be honest. So, we did run over a lot because we had a lot to talk about.
We're at almost 2 hours. So, thank you for carrying.
Is there anything else?
Just thank you for carrying the load this week. I'll be back and better next week, but this has been fun.
Yeah. So
such great shows. I mean, like the two that we really liked, and the Book of Boba Fett's not bad. That's the thing. Yeah. It's just it should be better.
Yeah, and it could. And again, we have 5. It's only 2 episodes in. It could get much better.
I just don't give Disney Star Wars any kind of grace when it comes to that.
Yeah,
none whatsoever.
Just the Disney Plus shows.
No, I'm just going with Disney Star Wars in general. I mean, like, they've burned us so many times. Like Rebels was a fluke.
Yeah. So. But with that being said, we thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
Later.